Hello and welcome back to Trigger Smart. So I've covered a lot of crazy out there topics, especially with the Charlie Kirk stuff, different theories and things that have happened, theoretically, right? So this is another theory that I find very interesting, so I wanted to cover this one. And this is the famous Squib load, or faking his death.
For much of the 20th century, squibs were the backbone of cinematic violence. The small but mighty devices have been crucial to some of the film industry's most delightfully bloody movies. Today, squibs can be seen as a stand-in the heated debate over practical versus digital effects. Consider this your graphic content warning.
So as you can see there, these squibs provide the blood effects in Hollywood, and they've been using them for a long time. A lot of stuff now they do through CGI, but back in the day, and even now still to this day, they put these packs under the skin or in certain areas under their clothes, and they use those to explode, and then you have the gore, right? So obviously these are fake examples. This is not real blood, and it's important to realize that this is something that's been done for a very long time. So you can pretty much imagine they've mastered it.
A squib refers to a small explosive device. In movies, squibs are used to simulate gunshots hitting either inanimate surfaces or a person. A squib used on a person in film is often referred to as a blood squib or bullet hit squib. There are three primary components to a blood squib. First, there's the squib itself, which is a small, disc-shaped explosive. The strength of the squib depends on where on the body it's being placed and what.
So it's important to remember that the squib is just a charge, and that charge itself could theoretically do damage. And in this case, they're using that squib to explode the fake blood.
The desired outcome is. Then there's the packet of fake blood and whatever else is needed to simulate the gore. And finally, there's a protective layer to minimize risk to the actor. The squib is typically assembled by a pyrotechnician or someone with a T2 pyrotechnics license. They will tape the packet of fake blood to the squib, leaving an opening in the front so that it can explode outward. And then that device will be taped against the protective layer to an actor's body or costume.
Okay, so listen what they said there. They said that they put it close to the actor's body, and as you can see here, it does stick up, in this case anyway. In this specific one, it does stick up some. But I just want you to look at this because I'm going to show you something later. This is why the person thinks this may be what's actually going on.
Costume designer will have multiples of the outfit the squibs are in for additional takes. They will also often need to score the fabric so that the explosive can more easily burst through the clothing. Usually, the detonation of a squib will employ a two-step ignition.
Now just imagine how much trust you have to have because there's actually an explosive on your body,
where both the actor and a crew member will have to activate it. This avoids accidental detonations. For gunshots into walls or elements of the set, the squib process is largely the same, except protective plating isn't needed. Of course, use of squibs on set should prioritize safety and attention to detail, since they are live explosives.
Okay, so now you know what a squib is. You see that they can use it for various different things, and they can use it in movies to fake gunshots, heads exploding and that kind of thing, and they've been using it for a long time, and Hollywood has kind of mastered it, right? And they also use it in walls and things like when you see the gunshots and you see the little pieces of the concrete behind them kind of flying out. That's what they use them for. All right, so now we're going to look at some alternatives to a squib if it was maybe something else.
Some productions will use compressed air, which is safer and cheaper. They will work similarly to squibs.
Look how bulky that is. So some people were saying there's like a compressed air underneath his shirt that maybe like shot something up or whatever. But I mean, if he was wearing this, there would be no doubt that something was wrong. And I'll show you pictures that show what he looks like in his shirt and his skin and everything underneath. Not a skin underneath, obviously, but you'll see there are some little bulges or some kind of like questionable areas. But maybe it was an audio pack. I don't know. But check this out.
The squibs, except instead of an explosion, it is a burst of air which pushes out the blood. But this option is also bulkier and not as reliable. By far the most popular alternative is CGI. A CG bullet wound is cheaper, as well as much safer.
So now we're going to talk about that too. There is one GIF that will probably get this video demonetized, but there's one GIF that shows that the spot that you see on the video doesn't align in two different frames. It's in a different spot. It doesn't. In other words, it doesn't move with his body. So let's just keep going.
It's also easier to pull off on set, since no blood has to be cleaned up, and costumes don't need to be swapped out. CG also allows for more freedom for gunshot placement. Squibs on or near an actor's face, for example, are extremely difficult and can be dangerous.
So just based on what they just said, just think about a squib being right on his neck. First of all, with how big they were, at least the ones we're seeing here, it'd be obvious that you see it. And second of all, it's an explosive right there on his neck. That's extremely dangerous. So for them to like fake this all would basically have to mean they could hide it, first of all, and then an explosion is happening on his neck. I mean, it just seems a little far-fetched to me. All right, so now let's look at the actual theory. So someone sent me this. They want to remain anonymous. Hey, thanks for everything you're doing. Amazing job. God bless. You need to see these high-resolution photos. I have seen these photos, and I've actually shared these photos. But here's what he's talking about. This is like the details, his breakdown. So the neck has a weird bulge. All right, interesting. Now, to me, we'll look at more photos. You only see it here. You don't see it in other photos. So this might just be the angle of his neck, the way he's moving his neck, but it does seem very strange. Like that looks a little suspect to me. But could just be how his body is, you know? Then we have the shoulder has a weird shape. And if you look at this, I think it's talking about here. It does seem like there's something there. It's not normal. Like if you look at my shirt, like you're not seeing what looks like a cable or something there, maybe, right? Now, again, you know, theory. So this could be a cable or something going to a squib. I don't know. He might be wired up in some other way, but his chain is clearly over here, right? And I would think if they were doing this for real, why would they have him wear a white shirt? Like a white shirt while trying to hide all this squib stuff and his chain. I mean, like you can see his chain clear as day through the white shirt. So if he had anything else, like if this is a cable or something, which it does look kind of strange. It looks like he has like a wire or bump or something on his shoulder, at least right here. So this person is saying the camera is clear, looks normal. So, I mean, based on my videography background, yeah, it looks pretty normal. You have a battery here. It's on a V-mount, clipped on. You have another clip with a bracket. It's going to the camera. And then this is just feeding the camera battery power. So it seems like this is pretty normal, but it looks like something's missing here. You see in other photos, like, because people were talking about line of sight from that, but there's actually something above it that was in line of sight at the proper angle based on Jason Goodman's theory. So it looks like there's something missing. Maybe it's higher up here or he hasn't added it yet, but this looks, you know, pretty normal. So if you were some kind of spy or something and you rigged this, most likely you'd have it go through the lens. So everything else would kind of look normal. So in this case, it looks like the camera passes. Then this person goes on to say, shirt from the back, what are these? They look like a squib kit. Now, I don't know what defines something as a squib kit. We looked at some of the images before, but basically it looks like a little charge that would be under the shirt. So you see these little strange angled markings here. So typically, like this looks like packs on his back, right? Like those aren't normal things you would see in someone's shirt. Like see these natural wrinkles and lines that are in here? And you can see like the natural creases and stuff that it makes. These don't look natural at all. Neither does that one, right? There wouldn't be a random bump there. Look at that. So yeah, it's a little suspect, a little strange. Okay, let's keep going. Shirt from the front looks like a bag of some sort of object. Is he talking about this? Could be some air under there. You know, Charlie Kirk's a pretty slender person, so I don't think it's a gut, right? So there could be something there, but it could also just be his shirt pushing out and from him walking. I don't know. It's hard to tell from this angle. What do you think? All right, and then this is where it gets really interesting. This person's saying that now this has been covered, right? This is just a black circle, but this exactly covers the spot where he was shot. So this is saying in this theory that if you watch it, it looks like, you know, CGI. It's not moving with his body, right? So in other words, he's reacting to the shot, but this wound, this neck wound that everyone's seeing, which if that's an entry wound, that's the biggest entry wound I've ever seen. But anyway, it looks like that is not moving with his flesh. And what they did is they have two different frames that they pulled from a video, and this is what it looks like. So it almost looks like a frame was pulled out from between those if something actually, like a squib or something went off, right? Kind of strange, kind of interesting. Now, whenever you get stuff like this that's manipulated, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But if this is real, then that would be very strange that wound is not lining up with his body movement at all. And remember, I said I'd show a couple of shots where his neck looked normal, right? So you don't see that big bulge that was on the side of his neck. And I don't know when that bulge showed. Was it when he first got there? Was it in the middle of the event? Was it right before he got shot? I don't know. But they didn't have time to add it when he was walking in and being filmed by thousands of people. And then you can see here again, if I zoom into this shirt, it does look very strange right here. If I zoom in more, that doesn't look normal. That doesn't look natural. But if you've ever, had something where like if you take your fingers and you stretch them into your shirt for a little bit and then let go, your finger marks kind of stay there. So could this be something like that? I don't know. Okay, so now that we've seen what a squib is, let's look at what doesn't support that theory. So if people say they're state actors